Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
Happy Friday again, Mike.
Happy Friday, Phil, and to those of you that are listening out there in Listenerville on our podcast. If you're joining this one, this is one of two podcasts that have come out today. So either this is the second of two that you're watching, or this is one of two. There is another one. The other one we've talked about is exclusively dedicated to episode number 3, season 27 of South Park. So if you want to listen to that one, that is the other one. But for today's podcast, on this one, we got lots to talk about. I mean, lots to talk about. But Phil, I mean, come on. You know, Phil's going to be mad at me. You know, I got to start the podcast out talking about the fact that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got engaged. Now, I mean, I couldn't go without mentioning that. But I want to bring it back to our podcast world for a second. Okay, this is how it relates to us. Two things. One, the fact that it's such big news boggles my mind. Only because of the power of media, which obviously we're in. So I'm going to give you an example. I put out this week a story or a reel on Instagram, and I did really well with it. My reel has hit, I'm looking at it right now, just shy of 500,000 views.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Swift's wedding announcement that she got engaged, as of last check, had 33 million views and more than 10 million reposts alone. So, and let's just bring it right back to the podcast. This is kind of dreamy in a way. So if you think you can't succeed in life in some way, in crazy way, Travis Kelce gives us all the possibility. And I'm going to tell you why. Here's a guy that, I probably most of our listeners do not know, because I'm sure that most of you guys out there are not Swifties. But let me tell you, the way that those guys met was through his podcast. A lot of people don't know this. He went on his podcast with his brother, and he said, I went to the Taylor Swift concert the other night, and I wanted to meet her, and I made her a little charm bracelet. And anyways, the long and short of it is, he tried to get backstage. He had that was no way in hell, even though it was at Arrowhead in Kansas City. And the long and short of it is, her people found out about this thing, and his people, blah, 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 blah. Long and short of it, they eventually met, and hey, now they're getting married. So, there's always hope for us out there, I guess. But in any case, the power of media, though, is just crazy, because just seeing how that went around the news cycle and on all of the things, and quite frankly, Travis and Jason's podcast now, I've noticed, has moved up in the rankings of podcasts worldwide. I want to say I think it was already close to the top 10, and I think it's in the top 5, getting huge amounts of views. So put them on the map as well. It isn't like, she may be a celebrity. It's not like he's not one either, I suppose. But in any case, I got my Taylor Swift out of the way here.
I want to congratulate them, and I just want to say I have never seen so many opinion pieces written about an engagement.
Mm-hmm.
Will it work? Is she worthy? Is he worthy? Just all kind of crazy stuff.
They're already talking about when, where, how big's the prenup, how long will it last? Maybe just it's got to be in Vegas by now, right? There's got to be bets on this.
Well, I'm hoping it lasts. From the outside looking in, it has the recipe for success because they didn't rush it.
Right.
They got to know each other. They've already felt what it's like to have a social media whirlwind around them. Of course, it's going to increase now, but they know what they're getting into. So I don't think there'll be any surprise or, them getting into a fight about something in the media or something, because it's already happened.
Yep. So anyways, that's probably a lighter way of starting our podcast, because I know Phil's going to throw me something heavy and hard.
I'm not, Mike. Well,
okay.
I guess it is heavy. Some people say it's 135 pounds. Mike,
oh, God.
At a Brooklyn, listen, I sent you the
No, I'm laughing.
Like,
oh boy!
At a Brooklyn campaign stop on August 23rd, mayoral candidate Zoran Mamdani went viral after struggling to bench press 135 pounds at a Men's Day event, needing full help from a spotter. Mamdani later called it a team effort, but critics like Mayor Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo pounced, mocking him as "ma'am scrawny" and questioning his strength to lead the city. Mike, does a moment like this actually hurt a political campaign, or is it just social media noise?
Oh gosh, you gotta love where politics has gone nowadays. You just gotta. I mean, well, let's put it this way. It's being very nice saying that he attempted to lift 135 pounds and had some help. I wouldn't call that help. I would say that his spotter did 100% of the work. It's pretty embarrassing, quite frankly. But, well, let's put it this way. It's not embarrassing so much that he can't do it. It's embarrassing, to me anyways, that you would try it in front of all those people, obviously knowing that you couldn't do it, right? I mean,
well, it demonstrated to me that he didn't know that he ain't ever sat on a bench and lifted weights ever. Well, he didn't have an idea of what he was. He probably looked at that barbell and it didn't look heavy to him because he ain't ever lifted weights.
And you're probably right on that, Phil. But I think that. I mean, he did make a comment, something about it was a team effort, something like that, and it's like, yeah, I mean, that just plays into that 80-20 rule where you're on the 20% losing side, where you're going to get a participation trophy because you attempted to do it, and I think we're all over that at this point. Nobody wants that anymore. We want to get back to like, okay, let's give a trophy to the first, second, and third place that actually accomplished what they were doing, and not just because everybody stood in the room. So that's my saying on that. But I don't know where that race is going to go in New York, to be honest with you. I mean, you're dealing with the three names you just mentioned: Mamdani, Cuomo, and Adams, are all like got a whole mess of skeletons in the closet.
Right.
All three of them.
So the way I look at this, Mike, I have two different thoughts about this weightlifting incident with him. The very first one, I'm a numbers guy, Mike, and I lifted weights for a majority of my life. That was not no 135 pounds.
No.
Those look like 25 pounders. So that's 105 pounds.
Yeah, we're going to say, I think they were 105. I think somebody else said that online.
They've been saying 35 pounds, but they're not 35 pounds because if you look at them, they've got these huge cutouts.
Yeah.
Huge ones, not like little small ones you can put your hand in. Those were 25s. They were thin and small in circumference. So I'm putting, first of all, it wasn't even 135 pounds. Staying on that point for a second, I have been a member of health clubs almost all my life, and I have seen many women lift 135 pounds in their very first try ever lifting weights. So so those who don't understand how easy a task, I can curl 135 pounds, and I'm not strong, Mike. I'm not in shape, and I'm an old man. And this dude is 30 years old. Yeah. The average blue collar dude that's 60 years old can curl 130 pounds.
Let's put him up against Robert Kennedy.
So So here's the next thing with me, Mike. People are kind of blowing off about, they're trying to make it like it's just makes him look bad, but I believe it's a little deeper than that, Mike. Men judge men through their physicality. It's been like that forever. Even if it's something that requires mental capacity, when we're looking for a leader, we generally subconsciously also add in the recipe of what's their physicality, what's their presence, and things like that. It's not bothering me in that way, but there are going to be a lot of middle-class men, a lot of just men who will see a guy who can't lift 135 pounds and they cannot look past that as a person being their leader. One of the reasons why Trump at his late age is accepted is he's a big guy. Almost every time he takes a picture with somebody, he's the tall dude. Mm-hmm. It creeps into our thought process no matter how cerebral we are about it. That's my opinion.
Yep.
So I think this really hits him bad and worse than people are admitting to. Because
I think he's got a long way to go to win there.
They're just like there are men who will say, I would never vote for a woman. There are absolutely men that are of the same mentality. I would never vote for a dude that can't lift 135 pounds.
Yep.
And I kind of feel that way not because of the actual task, but it is also indicative of, so you never really had a hard day's work. Mm-hmm. And to me, I don't need you to have worked hard all your life, but I need you to be able to sympathize with the working man as a leader of all of the people. You know, that's why I thought it was such a big deal when Trump did the thing on the campaign trail where he worked in a McDonald's. Mm-hmm. People want to see that.
Yeah, even if it's staged.
Yes.
Yeah. Agreed.
The thing was, when he was in that working environment, people were like, he don't seem like he uncomfortable in that environment. That's what they're looking for more so than that. And he absolutely looked like he wasn't comfortable with weights.
No. No, he damn near ran out of there.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Whew.
So, Mike, big news out of D.C. President Trump has signed an executive order aimed at cracking down on American flag burning. The twist, the Supreme Court has long ruled that burning the flag as political protest is protected free speech under the First Amendment. Now, if federal agencies determine a case violates state or local laws like open burning restrictions, they'll pass it along to local authorities. Mike, does this move respect free speech rights, or is it crossing a constitutional line?
This is just my opinion, obviously. I think that it is, I don't think it crosses a constitutional line. And the reason I say that is, and I realize that the court has long stood with that argument, but I think that particularly in today's society, things change. I think that it can be heavily equated to inciting, I don't want to say inciting violence or inciting treason or inciting. I think it's a stepping stone to something worse that is illegal. So I think that you could, if they can tie it to whatever that is, and I'm not sure what that is, but if they can tie it to that, then I think you might be able to get that passed where it is illegal to burn a flag or destroy a flag.
Yeah, what they're basically,
let's put it this way, it's not cool.
They're going to get you on something associated with it.
Yes. Here's my problem with the whole thing. I can't even believe we're having the discussion, quite frankly, because to me, it's not cool. I'm not burning a flag ever. Quite frankly, I'm not burning some other country's flag either. I just think that is it's a bad thing to do. It's indicative of hate, and and I take it a step further. I'm not hanging my fucking flag upside down either, like I see people doing. Quote protest because they're in grave danger or agony, whatever the hell it is. Bullshit. You're not in grave danger of shit. You're just a wuss.
Well,
I'm fired up today.
I hold the flag just as high or maybe even higher, because I'm even against like when they take and they morph the image of the flag, like they'll have a blue line in it for the blue line, or a black line, or the red line, or they'll have skulls instead of stars. Or
I don't like any of that.
I don't like the idea of you having it hanging out your truck. I think that's totally disrespectful of the flag.
Agreed.
The way they have it, totally different. Totally different than having the little ones on your antenna. I mean, the one where they just have it stuck hanging out the back of their pickup.
Because what we're trying to get to, I think, Phil, is that's inciting. Look, you have to go back to what the reason is, and I think the reason that somebody's doing that is to piss somebody else off.
And for the young folks out there, Mike, it's exactly what you said, but the reason why it incites is because it's in our DNA. Since the beginning of time, almost, we have fought for a flag.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There have literally been wars where physically we have beaten another people down, and the war was not over until you obtained the flag.
Right, you planted the flag on the top of the hill. Why do you think we put a flag on the moon? Why do you think that's what that's all about?
There is a movie written about a staged flag, the famous thing where the soldiers are holding the flag. We've got documentaries and movies about it telling the fake story, and then we got a bunch of stories about how it was. But all of it, the point being is that all of these stories are because this flag represents something.
Yes,
and I'm not making our flag more special than others.
Nope.
If I were to become a citizen of any country, I'm not messing my flag up.
Right.
I feel it's a treasonous act.
I agree.
And until recent American history, it has always been considered worldwide, internationally, as a sign of that.
Oh, of course. Yeah, so I think that's a non-issue. To me, I think that he's going down the right path for that. I think that's fine. And by the way, you didn't bring this up, but I mean, there are other politicians, including on the left, that have supported that in the past.
Mm-hmm. I have never been with the protesting using the flag.
No, wrong thing. Crosses the line.
Mike,
do it some other way.
We haven't even mentioned that it's Labor Day.
It is Labor Day. I forget because I'm in Mexico and we don't have Labor Day here. But you're right.
That's partly why we're doing the two podcasts.
Because you guys are sitting at home going to be having a picnic or something and listen to Phil and I mumble about something.
Yep. This Labor Day weekend is also a celebration of Waffle House's 70 years of waffles. Mm-hmm. The all-day service and Southern charm, Waffle House started on Labor Day weekend in 1955 in Georgia, founded by two neighbors, Joe Rogers Sr. and Tom Faulkner. Did you know they named it after the most profitable menu item, waffles? And today it's a cultural staple with over 2,000 locations, a real-life disaster response barometer, and even has its very own museum. Mike, what's your favorite Waffle House fact or story?
My favorite time is when you and I went there. Remember, we went there together. Where the fuck were we?
We were in North Carolina.
We were somewhere North Carolina, and we managed to fit I don't know 10 overland rigs in a parking lot at a Waffle House somehow, and including my big orange truck. And
that's what I was about to say.
Pretty much blocked traffic.
It wasn't 10 regular.
No.
We basically took up a whole Waffle House parking lot.
Not only did we take up the parking lot, we took up the whole kitchen. We took up most of the dining room, and we had a good time. And I think that's when you taught me. I had never had. What was it? I forget. I'm drawing a space blank here.
Grits
but you're going to tell
chili
me.
on it.
Yes, grits with chili on it. It's damn good too. So, and I would be remiss if I didn't. You're going to throw Waffle House in there. I don't think they're changing the logo right this second. Anyways, we haven't had as good time at Cracker Barrel that I can remember. Had to throw that in there. By the way, we talked about this last week about Cracker Barrel. Nobody wrote to me. Does anybody understand this whole thing? I mean, now that I guess they announced they're going to stay with the old logo, but explain to me how that thing, everybody was like, it was woke and it just was a shitty logo that went to a worse logo. I missed that whole.
I didn't understand
the whole idea.
Because at first I was like, oh, that must be like a black guy in the chair.
Right.
That was a slave or something.
Yeah, because I saw some meme with the guy in the chair with Aunt Jemima and the Land O'Lakes. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
And I was like, wait a minute. And nobody still told me, like, okay, is he representative of some bad white guy or something?
I don't know. No. He's just a white guy that sits in a chair in front of Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, I didn't dig too deep into this one, bro, because it didn't make no sense to me.
It did good. All right, so let's move on because it didn't make no sense to me either. But let's put it this way. I'll leave it on this. Their food is gross anyways. So bottom line is the reason that they're going out of business is because their fucking food isn't that good. And you walk in and you feel like you're in like some outdated, fake general store. Like their entrance is like a fake general store. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the problem. I don't think it's the logo. I don't think it's got anything to do with woke. Whatever. Whatever.
And one of my big issues with them is they have lines like it's Mother's Day Sunday every day of the week. And the food is not good enough to be waiting 30 minutes, 40 minutes for that food. It's always a wait. I'm like, the food.
One thing I'm going to give you is a shout out to Reyes and Deidre, who I camped with at Cracker Barrel. The advantage of Cracker Barrel is you can camp in their lot if you're a nomad. And two, that you can pay for a cup of coffee and get unlimited coffee there. So those are the only two things I could think of that are that good. Well,
they're probably not going to let me or you ever go there again.
Or camp there no more. No, maybe Waffle House. But the Waffle House parking lots are always too small.
Mike, you saw the video of Snoop Dogg, right?
Yeah, Snoop Dogg was
social media
irony at its best, I think.
Social media has lost their mind, Mike, over Snoop Dogg, saying he's scared to go to the movies after his grandson asked him how is it possible a lesbian couple could have a baby in the children's film Lightyear. He's not alone. Millions of parents are asking the same thing. Yet, every single person prefaces their opinion with some sort of I support love and equality, but disclaimer. Why? Mm-hmm. Why did the majority feel the need to tiptoe around the loudest minority?
Well, I mean, the irony of the whole thing is that you got Snoop Dogg, who's not exactly what I would consider to be like the shiny, perfect example of politically correct. But, here he is with his grandson going to the movies, and he's put back by a movie that was made for children by Disney that presents a topic. Now I get it, and here's the problem. I think that this is one again. Is going to be a longer discussion than I want to have right now, but it goes back to that some of these organizations, and when I say organizations, companies in some cases like Disney, have an agenda, and one of their agendas here is trying to normalize life. The problem with normalizing some of this is that I don't know at that age, and I don't remember how old his grandson was, like probably 6 or something, I think, right?
I don't know.
It's a legit question, like, well, how can 2 women have a baby? I mean, it's a good question. I could ask the same question. Now being an adult, I have the answers behind that. Somebody donated in that case, but that's not a conversation I want to have with a 5-year-old. So the problem is putting it into a movie that's targeted at a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old kid that is smart enough and knows enough to ask the question. That to me is problematic, because the movies are not made by children; they're made by adults. So these are adults making the choice to create this environment, and that's where my problem is. And the irony of the whole thing is when you get Snoop Dogg. Like, I expected out of, like, I don't know, the pastor of some friggin' church, but this is, we were talking about Snoop Dogg says, hey, dude, this ain't right. He's got a point.
I think they're more upset with Snoop Dogg because of the simplicity and the way that he made his point. Sometimes you give a little example of something, it's real simple, and it hammers home a point really strongly. Mm-hmm. And I think that was it. And I think a large majority of people related to it, even if they didn't have children, they related to the feeling of having to cower to these thoughts, these ideologies, or to there are people who go to work every day, they go to a meeting, and then they have to acknowledge things that they don't want to acknowledge and word things ways that they don't want to word them. People related to what he was saying, and they don't like it.
It's the polar opposite of leaving the education and the direction of children to their parents or to their family. It's the opposite of that, right?
Absolutely. It's pure and simple. Like, when did we hand over childhood innocence over to
Disney
corporate storytellers?
Right.
When did we, as parents, all of a sudden become labeled as intolerant because we want to regulate, we want to gauge what comes in and out of my child's mind?
Yeah, see, my problem is not with the actual scenario. My problem is that you're trying to stimulate it in a child. You know what I mean? Like,
bro, I almost feel like I'm sitting on a bench in a park and with my daughter, and someone is sitting next to my daughter, touching her leg and telling me, no, it's okay. You shouldn't be upset with me for touching your daughter's leg. You have no right to have an opinion about what I'm doing to your daughter.
Yep. It's weird.
And I'm the only person using this word, Mike, but the things that they are doing, in my opinion, falls under grooming. Yeah. Because they are specifically trying to induce an ideology and a thought process, bring up questions and doubts in a young mind early. That's grooming. Mm-hmm. That's grooming 101.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yep. Yep.
Mike, here's the reality. Senators, representatives, and other public officials in Texas literally left the state to block a redistricting vote, shutting down everything. But if any private sector worker abandoned their job mid-shift, they'd be fired immediately. Shouldn't the same rule apply to elected officials who walk out on people they serve?
I'm glad you brought this topic up because it's a loaded question. But yes, I think so. If they're not doing their job, they get fired. However, this redistricting thing is a bigger topic, right? And I don't want to say that it's cheating because it's hard to say it's cheating when it's being done by both sides. And by the way, it's not something that's new. It was an interesting interview I watched on I forget which channel the other night, and they had Governor Pritzker from Illinois on, and he was talking about, yay, Ray, go California. You're not doing anything wrong because you're just counterbalancing Texas. And then the interviewer, and I think it was an NBC, to be honest, and the interviewer was like, well, you would say that because Illinois did this very thing about 10 years ago. And, I looked into it a little bit, and sure enough, and then you looked at the districts of how it divided the votes, where they put them, and it's clearly manipulating districts in order to get the votes that you need. So this is being done by the left and the right. And obviously Texas, this midterm is at this point is so important to both sides that just Texas doing it alone could very well swing the Republicans in the House and enable them to keep the House of Representatives, and then you've got Governor Newsom in California saying, well, look, if Texas is looking to divide this up differently and gain 5 seats, then we can do the same in California. We can gain 5 here to counterbalance that. So, where does this end? And the question is you would say it's cheating because it's not in the bottom line is it's not in the best interest of the populace, right? It's not in the best interest of you and I to divide up a geographic territory in a weird way. So I'll use Illinois as that example because they were showing it on the screen, and it was some weird shaped areas that were like
S.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
A S that ends up as a J.
Yep. So, clearly that was made, in Illinois' case, so the Democrats could get more seats. But, Texas is doing it. So, this is not a target. I'm not picking on either side here. Both sides are essentially trying to do this. I don't think that in the case, your original question to me, though, was, these representatives just fleeing the state. No. First of all, it didn't work. So, they didn't have the votes anyway. So they're just abandoning their job. No, I don't think you should be able to do that.
Same here. And I pretty much agree with everything that you said. Both sides, at least for the last 50 years that I've been following politics, Mike, there's some state, some city, some locale, municipality, county, or whatever, attempting to redistrict, reconfigure something for a vote. There's been many times throughout my life where there's been some state that had to go all the way to the Supreme Court to figure out whether or not their redistricting was legal. So I agree that it's a political game. It's a cheat sheet on winning an election. But I have to separate my feelings from that. And okay, at some point we got to just make a rule. You don't show up, you get fired. You are serving us.
Yeah, we elected you to be there.
Right. And we were talking about something else last week, and I brought this up. I don't want my elected officials to be part of protest.
No.
I want my elected officials to do their job. Let me protest.
It's the same thing when we talked about weeks ago, which, by the way, is also back in the news, this Kilmar Abrego Garcia guy. It was the same thing when they were flying down to El Salvador or wherever. That's a protest. that was just a grandstanding protest. And we're not paying you to get on planes and fly down to some other country because you're stomping your feet because this guy is a legal immigrant, right? And now we're wasting all this money. He comes back. We got him. We got him on charges. Whether he did it or didn't do it is here's the problem. To me, it's irrelevant. And the Democrats are arguing, let this guy go, blah 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 blah. He didn't do it. He wasn't a human trafficker. And the Republicans are like, basically lock him up, fuck him, send him to Uganda, whatever the hell we want to do on the Republican side. Also, don't agree with really. But the bottom line is, he was here illegally. There's a process to deport him. Do it. Deport him. It's as simple as that. I don't know what all this other shit is. The fact that he committed a crime or didn't commit a crime in the United States is largely irrelevant because you can deport him regardless. Right? I mean,
and I feel like the Democrats are making their case for coming back into prominence and winning any elections. They're making it harder on themselves because if you're an adult, you are privy to knowing of, or maybe it's someone you even know that was falsely accused of something, and you go talk to your local alderman or whatever, and they won't even come down the elevator and walk a couple of blocks to
That's right.
to defend you. Right. And then they're gonna fly to another country for somebody that
isn't even from here.
So they are really messing up for themselves. I agree with everything that you said about his particular case. There's nothing else to say about that. I'm looking at the after effects of their actions. I think I'm like, that joke that they always use where somebody's talking and somebody's like, I can see you. That's how I feel like. It was like, y'all don't realize we can see you?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all don't give us nothing. Y'all don't support us. You don't have time for anything for us, but you can fly around the world for one person that ain't a citizen of America.
I mean, to continue on this theme and keep with our message of random waypoints, the 80-20 rule, you brought it up. I reference your 80-20 rule here all the time with people I'm talking to. And I'll give you another one. This thing going on in Washington, D.C. where Trump sent the National Guard in. And then this morning or yesterday morning, I see the mayor of Washington, D.C. come out, who's obviously way liberal Democrat, say, man, thanks for all the help. The city has gotten better. The crime rate has plummeted over the last 20 days. There's things that we can continue working together. And as long as we're working together and my local people are involved, she's largely, I don't want to say she's not supporting Donald Trump, but she's largely admitting, because facts don't lie, that it's working. And meanwhile, to go back to Pritzker, by the way, a multi-billionaire governor of Chicago, who's basically saying, I'm going to sue Trump, I'm going to do this if he sends people into Chicago. And he stood on TV the other day and it basically said, look, Chicago's not any different than any other city. There's some problems, but, we're just like everywhere else. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I think they've got a pretty host of pretty big problems with crime. And you even had, I was listening to a bunch of people on the street being asked by some roving reporters, what's your thoughts? And they're like, look, if somebody could send in more, we don't really give a shit what they are. We don't care if they're police, National Guard, Army. We don't care. But if it makes it better for us, then we like it. Amen to that. I mean, that makes sense.
I've had friends from D.C. tell me that all the people that are protesting, none of them are from D.C., that basically they're all for this. It feels good to be able to get out again, because it had gotten to the point that it used to be that D.C. was, as long as you were around the White House and the mall and Georgetown area or somewhere like that,
Smithsonian,
P-Town, stuff like that, you were cool. basically like every other city. As long as you're in the good neighborhood, you were safe.
Right.
But what has happened is people in Georgetown getting their Benzes stolen, and people who are shopping down the strip in Georgetown or near the canal, they getting robbed right in broad daylight in front of the Apple store and stuff like that.
Yep.
So what I'm getting to is it's not even a localized within the city type of crime thing like it is in Chicago. It's like all over the city there was crime. You didn't feel good or safe anywhere. And because my friends don't live in no bad neighborhoods, but they were telling me they didn't feel comfortable like going to Georgetown, parking their car, going to a restaurant, or going for a bike ride and leaving their car and things like that.
Yeah, so what this begs is, and let me give you the other side, because I don't want everybody to say, "Oh, here we go, we're supporting this quote dictator." The negative side of this whole thing is, and we've said this a million times on the podcast. Fundamentally, Donald Trump has changed the both the office of the presidency and, quite frankly, the federal government in general, and. So what I see is America is moving more towards what you will find in other countries. Like, I'll use an example here in Mexico. It's basically federally policed, right? And that's typical quite honestly, it's typical in most countries are federally policed. America is a weirdity where we municipally police things. So by sending in National Guard and now giving them weapons on top of it, is basically saying that the federal government is now policing other places. Now, there's a difference, obviously, between D.C., which is not a state, technically, and Chicago, which is in Illinois. So we'll see what happens if he indeed does that. And my belief is Trump's going to send the National Guard into Chicago. I'm telling you right now. It's going to happen.
I feel like he wants to, regardless of whether it's right or wrong. He wants to do it.
I agree. But we'll see what happens. But I mean, I guess if you want to portray a negative on this, is that we are watching America change, and obviously there's a group of people that think that it's a authoritarian dictatorship. Different, and I will agree. There's elements involved in that definitely are towards that. However, I could also argue that Mexico, as an example, is a democracy where the governor or the governors and the president or whatever are elected. However, it is a federally controlled. From a policing standpoint, so that's not one and the same necessarily, but I think in summary, the important thing here is to learn is that Trump is changing the federal government and the way that it operates, and I think that's it. And it isn't something that's going to go back, because I hear my Democratic friends out there saying, "Oh God, we've got 3 more years, and then when Trump's gone, we can elect somebody and it will go back to the way we were." Oh no, you're not going back to the way you were, because they're not even. No, I got news for you guys. There's nobody on your team that wants to go back. Because what he's doing is he's
exposed the bureaucracy of the government.
Exactly, and the left is going to appreciate that power as well.
Oh,
the same
absolutely.
Way that the right
they're in position to.
Exactly, the same way as the right does. So that's like where I can see the negative occurring is what we got going on right now. Say in the CDC, the health department, the thing you've got just this week, everybody quit. Trump fired one of the somebody at his new CDC director, I think, and then you've got a bunch of people quit. And the rumor is that it's because Kennedy and he's really pushing his views and stuff. Well, this is where I draw the line. I think where the problem is where you've got what conceivably probably should be how do I say this correctly? Like an independent thinking process when it comes to health.
It should be fact-based and not ideological.
Fact-based. Yes. And I think that there are elements of what Kennedy went in to do that are fact-based, and then there are things that he is doing that I think are not fact-based, and I think that's where probably where the issue is.
And I'm taking Trump all of that part, and I'm crediting Trump for that. I think if he was able to just do exactly what he wants, we wouldn't have any scrutiny of it. He's still under the king.
Agreed, and you're right, and that's why I'm getting back to the Trump thing, because you see him. Trump is like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park right now. He is testing the fence, so he's firing people at the CDC. Look, he just fired, and this is another big news item to keep the random waypoints going. He fired a Fed governor. It's the first time that's ever happened in history. He fired somebody that supposedly independent, was elected, and was supposed to serve to like 2040 or something, and he fired her, and now she's suing and saying that she's going to keep her job.
I think she's got a good chance. Yep. I agree with that. I like that poking the fence Jurassic Park thing, Mike.
I mean.
So, okay, let's get to it, Mike. Everybody is probably waiting for us to cover this. It's the hottest news. It's the biggest thing going on. Everybody's talking about it from all different angles. Wednesday in Minneapolis, a shooter opened fire during morning mass at Annunciation Catholic Church. 2 children were killed, 17 others injured. The suspect, a 23-year-old man, Robin Westman, who legally changed his name in 2020 and identified as a woman, also had family ties to the church. Mike, with this suspect's family ties to the church, a history of identifying as a different gender, and the tragic outcome inside a place of worship, should the focus now be on mental health failures, security gaps, or the way identity politics is shaping the narrative around these attacks?
Why is it always Phil's got to ask me the question, and then I got to answer the thing and come out and, okay, I'm going to. I think it's a little bit all of them, to be honest. I think that mental health is definitely a focus because, and I'm going to say something controversial because that's what we do on this podcast. I think there's a correlation between mental health and the identification piece of this whole puzzle. And the reason I'm saying that is because let's just go to science for a second. And I do not know for a second the whole details of the story. I don't think it's come out yet whether or not this particular individual has taken gender drugs to actually do a transition, or it was just simply a mental thing where this guy said, I'm going to be a girl, I'm changing my name, and I'm not doing anything. I don't know. I just don't know. But I will tell you that to me, there's some correlation. And I think that there has to be some kind of trigger mechanism. And I know I'm going to get flack because it sounds very similar to say like, racial profiling as an example. This class of person is more likely to do this, so we should maybe put more resources into that. Well, I mean, unfortunately, sometimes there's a reality to that, right?
Well, that's the issue right there. In one, you're talking about a person, and another one, you're talking about a person that has a psychosis.
A choice. Well, I mean, Phil, maybe you just said something more controversial than I did. I mean, you say that it's psychosis. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. Well, this person has a psychosis clearly on based on what they did.
Gender
but
dysphoria.
Misidentification. Dysphoria, yeah. I mean,
so where am I out of pocket on
but,
that?
okay, well, are you saying that everybody that wants to change their gender has dysphoria?
Yeah.
Oh boy,
that's what it is. You were born.
Goodbye, Apple.
You were
Goodbye,
born.
Spotify.
You were born one thing, and you.
Well, I agree with you, but
feel a certain way. I haven't said whether or not your feelings are legit or not. I'm simply just black and white. You are one thing and you feel like you're another. You have gender dysphoria. That's exactly what it is.
And to go along with what I said originally, I think that there is definitely stress, anxiety, and mental health concerns around that, right? I mean, that's just
absolutely
the way it is. And I don't know the particulars of this case. Unfortunately, everything's politicized, right? So immediately after this happens, you hear all the Democrats come out on one side and say, gun control. Well, let's review this for a second. The guy shows up at the place with a handgun, a rifle, and a shotgun. Now, they're talking about banning assault weapons, which in the case of this, that wouldn't have solved this, right? 2, they were all acquired legally. So you're not talking about banning the actual weapons. What you're talking about is banning the ability for people to have them. That's what you're really saying. And that's a whole different discussion, and we could do a whole podcast on that. But and then you got immediately when I first heard this, I had memes. I don't know about you, but on your social media feed, I had memes coming across from some of my liberal friends saying, "Oh, here we go again. It's going to be a white, right-wing, Nazi sympathizing, blah, 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 blah." And the reality is that their mouth got shut down when they heard that it was somebody that was switching genders. Everybody shut the hell up. But, at the end of the day, this is clearly a mental health problem. The guy was mentally unhealthy. What we're doing a really bad job at is figuring out who's mentally unhealthy in advance. So I see today they're interviewing his parents, who I think are divorced, one's out of state, whatever, and they're trying to figure out, what's his background. Well, I mean, unfortunately, that's like Monday morning quarterbacking. We're behind the 8 ball on that. So I think it's a mental health problem for sure.
So even though I've mentioned gender dysphoria and all of this, there is a mental component, because no matter what's going on, a person that goes and does a mass shooting, there's something wrong with them mentally.
Yes,
on some level.
I think everybody can agree with that. I hope.
But this is part of what I've been trying to show you for weeks now. Every single week, I've been showing you this conspiracy theory. So these shootings has more to do with simply a person going against the system. And for this person, the system is Christianity and people who follow Christianity who oppose my lifestyle. You don't even have to concern yourself with what that lifestyle is. And that's what people are trying to pull it in. They're basically trying to say, because he's trans, he did these things. That's not what I agree with, at least not in the sense that they're saying it. I think that he did it because he's trans, and this is an institution that professes against me.
Yeah.
That's what I see.
Yeah, and I think there's probably a fair argument to that, and it'll be interesting to see if more details come out about that. But I heard stories that he had written on his manifesto on YouTube, and he had written on his I think guns or whatever else he had written on. Fuck Trump and Catholic Church and the Christians and I don't know. There was some other stuff there too. It was a whole mess of stuff.
The only things that you know about the manifesto are the things that they wanted you to know, which are opposite of. He would be, in most people's idea, considered to be on the left or being liberal, right? But all the information that you're getting that's in his manifesto are the things that he's saying about the right.
Yes.
So they are curating a message about him to you.
Yeah, I see that.
They're literally trying to make him sound like, okay, yeah, he did this horrible thing, but he was on the right side of an ideology or a thought or whatever. Are you following what I'm saying?
I totally follow what you're saying. I mean, my fear here is that obviously this is the whole quote transgender, sex changing, drugs that involve that, surgeries, all this stuff has been politicized to such a level, and there's been such an argument about whether or not this is from birth. This is through culture. This is through, peer pressure. This is led by parents. This is, there's all sorts of stuff. And my fear here is that all creates a mental health drama, if you will, right? So
I agree.
We don't know, let's hypothetically say that. I want them
to pursue this as a terrorist act, not
which I think they are.
Because if they do that, they can address gender without it making a judgment about that. They can just simply say, this group of people are waging war against people about this.
Yeah.
And you can leave all of the, whether you like their lifestyle or like or dislike it, out of it. Mm-hmm. And that's the mistake that people are making. There are people who hate them, and this is their opportunity to hate them.
Yep.
I don't hate them.
No. And that makes the problem worse.
I agree.
I mean, the next guy's more likely to do this because he's now hated even more.
Well, there's actually a dichotomy there. Exactly what you said, but there's also enough support for a person to say, hey, I'll go and be a hero if I do this. That's when you have the second tier of people. I forgot the term for it. They're doing it as a martyr. Mm-hmm. They're doing it for they don't even care about the actual reason that they're doing it as much as the notoriety that will come from their being a martyr.
There's elements to him, I think, in this as well, because, I mean, clearly he was looking at doing the most amount of damage. He put 2x4s over some doors so that people couldn't get out. So most of these people that are committing these crimes are trying to maximize damage, right? They're trying to make and kill as many people and maximize. And, obviously it takes a sicko to attack a bunch of children in a church. I mean,
bro, I would have respected him more. No, I don't want to use that word.
Bad word.
I would have looked at it differently if he had the same feelings, had the same fight, had the same protest in his heart, and he went to the church and he shot a priest or a nun or an administrator of the school, someone who's an adult who is in the decision making that's actually in your mind doing something against you. Mm-hmm. These are the kids who you don't know what direction they're going. No. For all we know, he may have actually taken the life of one of his own.
That's right. But to go back to what you said earlier on the podcast, I mean, these are children that you could argue to take the counterpoint here that they are there being groomed, to use that word, right? Mm-hmm. So they're in there being taught by the priest or the nun or whoever a certain book of principles, presuming presumably counter principles to this guy.
I agree. And Mike, I'm about to give you a counter to everything that we just said.
Oh, gosh.
We're just basically going down the road and believing that, hey, the reason why he did this is because this is an institution against him. My other conspiracy follows that line, but I mean, this is Catholicism. This was a Catholic institution, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. No diss to the Catholics, but y'all got a long history of molesting boys.
A very long history.
Yeah, this might be some retribution for something that was going down. I'm not saying it was right. That ain't what I'm saying.
Well, and that's why I didn't want to make too many comments on what his motivation is, because that's got to be researched. And that may very well, Phil, come out next week or the week after that.
I don't think so, Mike. Because I was
maybe not.
I was going to end this with, this is another feather in the cap of what I'm trying to explain to you, where there's somebody,
the narrative
that's mass shooting, and then there's an immediate cover up, or there's a theme that's strewn out to you to make you not even think about other ideas like the one I just mentioned. Because is that a far-fetched thing that I just said?
No.
If that ended up being what it is, that would sound real logical.
Yes.
So, my point is there's already a protocol in place on the dissemination of information on these things, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying it again.
Yep.
And next week, hopefully it don't happen, but I'm probably going to have a whole nother example for you.
Okay. I like that.
And aren't you noticing it's the same thing?
Oh, for sure.
It's a lone shooter, and it's a major institution. And just like I said, it's going to increase, because it was like a few weeks in between them. Now it's starting to be like every
rapid fire, yeah.
And
coming fast. Yep.
And like I predicted before, it seems like these are still remote cases, separate entities all on their own. But as this goes on and people communicate and people see that there are people thinking like them, I believe there are going to be group attacks if it's no more than 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
That's the next thing I see. And there's also some similar crimes like this that they haven't been reporting that falls in line with this. On the East Coast, just a few months ago, there was like a whole van of transgender people, and they shot and killed a Border Patrol officer. Mm-hmm, and they were part of one of those organizations that's like anti the Christians and this, that, and the other. So there's so many different things that could be the reason, but they're not going to touch them because they don't want you to think about them.
I'll go with that.
Mike, China has doubled down on its partnership with India. I know you heard about that.
Yep.
They're openly defying Trump's tariffs. Meanwhile, other countries refusing to play along with Washington's trade agenda haven't shown major financial fallout. And some analysts predict they could actually thrive outside the tariff system. It's starting to look like there are 2 global economies forming. One under Trump's tariff influence, and another bypassing it entirely. Mike, are we watching a permanent economic split unfold?
It's possible. It's weird. I was going to bring that up, some failures, I would say. I'm not going to call them failures because it's too early to say yet, but, we had all those people come to Washington last week, or a week or 2 weeks ago, trying to get a peace deal with Ukraine and Russia. Nothing's happened. In fact, the only thing that's happened is Russia's bombed the living shit out of Ukraine, that the war has picked up. We were talking about Israel and Hamas. Well, we're not talking about it so much anymore because there's so much news going on, but they are increased genocide multitude 10 times over the last couple of weeks. They're bombing the living crap out of them. You've got India that's basically putting their thumb up saying, we're going to keep buying, we're going to buy oil from the cheapest way we can buy it from Russia. And that's just the way it is, regardless of what tariff you put on. Like you mentioned China, you've mentioned. So do I think? Yes, I can see that there are two economies possibly splitting apart. I don't know if that's going to stay. I don't know if that's feasible.
But
we're going to find out.
So not only do I think it's feasible, I think that it will grow. And this is the main reason. The two largest populations by a long shot are on that side of the fence.
Yeah, India and China.
The Asian influence on the economy is extreme. It's extremely lopsided.
So let me ask you this: Are you suggesting that? Let me just go with this for a second. Are you suggesting that you're going to get, like, let's call it Southeast Asia? You got maybe Vietnam, India, China, Mongolia, Russia into their own little thing, and then you're going to have split off is going to be the Americas and Europe, and maybe parts of Africa we're going to have two distinct separate pods of influence. Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm absolutely saying that. And I'm saying that India and China have the advantage. I'll make it real simple for you, Mike. If you were a tech company owner, forget about all the history and everything. Just look at this in a vacuum. If you were a tech owner and you were going to start a new computer company and you may even do some military drones and stuff like that, and you were looking for a workforce, manufacturing, support, and technical know-how to innovate,
mm-hmm.
and you had to pick a country, would it be the U.S., China, or India?
Yeah, but that's right now.
America would be, well, that's what we're talking about now. And I see it separating even more.
Understand, but if they separate, then you're talking about, I'm envisioning two pods where they're not trading, or there's less trading going on. So we wouldn't have the opportunity to produce that in India any longer. We would be producing it in Venezuela or Costa Rica or Mexico.
We wouldn't have the programmers. We wouldn't have the people that almost everybody who writes algorithms for Google, meaning all of Google itself, the search engine, the YouTube, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're almost completely all Indian.
But what we do have that they don't is the wealth. We have more wealth.
I understand that.
We can buy people.
I understand, and I agree with that. But one major difference is, even though wealth is concentrated in countries, it's even more concentrated in those countries. So even though the dollar amount may be lower, it's far more powerful. The labor workforce is they could pretty much India damn near got slavery now.
Yo, not damn near, it does have slavery. But
America wouldn't be where it is financially minus slavery.
Agreed. However, I do see that we have the economic clout, and we probably could get enough countries involved with us that have the cheap labor, and then furthermore.
Where they come from? China owns half of.
But you have to remember. But here's the problem. We do have more resources in energy resources.
Okay, and that's the same principle as like with the money. We may actually have more resources. but we have to dispense them over a larger group of people. They don't have that issue. Long as the rich is doing good, they can use all the resources on them. They don't need it for anybody else.
Yeah, I think they lose on oil. That's where I think that the great equalizer here is oil. They lose on oil because without oil, without the petroleum products, you can't make the stuff. You don't have the plastics. You don't have all and we control the oil.
We control the oil in the Middle East and in America,
which we have the most of if we actually use it.
I get it, but you don't think that there's enough outside of those two to supply the world for at least a decade?
Yep, but it depends. I mean, a lot of that is Russia. It depends on whether we keep the war going on. We talked about this on last week's podcast. I think we agreed that if we keep that war going, it weakens Russia, continually weakens them. Eventually, they're going to get so weak that they're going to have a tough time producing oil.
So, just be frank with me. So, my idea that we are in a critical situation where if we make the wrong move, we could be the lesser than in an economy. You
yes.
Just think I'm totally off base on
that? No, I think that there's nope. I don't. I think that is a risk. I don't.
Oh yeah.
know. I don't know. Well, there's two things I don't know about. One is it in the long run, are we actually going to divide into two economies? That's to be seen. And then two, in the long run, which one is stronger, or maybe neither? Maybe they're both equal. I don't know. So there's a lot of unanswered questions.
You're basically answering a different question. You're telling me what you think is actually going to happen. I agree with you. I don't think any of those things, but I think everything that I presented to you is a real thing, and
to turn it around,
it's a possibility. I don't think it's probable, but I think it's possible for sure.
To turn it around, to look at it the opposite direction, I would say, and I've said this repeatedly, and I'm going to stick to this. I don't think the tariff thing is going to work. I just don't. I don't think it's a good policy. I don't think that over the long term it's going to work. Look, we don't want to work. I mean, the tariffs on China were one thing, and tariffs on Russia or penalizing them for the war is another thing. Putting tariffs on India, I don't think is in our best interest.
I think the whole tariff thing, period. I believe there should be no tariffs, period, from anybody to anybody.
I agree.
If this is the cost of your product, that's the cost of the product. This is how much it costs to ship it. End of story. Do we have an agreement where we do export and import? Yep. That's it.
And I think in some ways that's what Trump's trying to do. I just think that trying to do it by doing exactly what you're trying to have them get rid of is not the way to do it. He's basically saying, I don't want you to have tariffs on us, so we're going to put them on you. Well, I don't know about that theory.
And there's more to tariffs than...
Yes.
There are a lot of long-standing tariffs that were basically a deal to funnel money to a country without it being part of like USAID or something like that.
Correct. That's right. There's lots of behind the scenes going on. I think what you're suggesting is that you have what I would call a pure capitalist platform where the cost of widget A is X, and that's what it is, regardless of whether it's sold in the country of origin or the country of destination.
I think there could be a variance in price simply because the cost of living.
Exactly. Yeah.
But in basic principle, yes, sort of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't have no problem with somebody making a profit.
But Phil, you and I are suggesting a principle here that goes against the Donald Trump train of thought. He is largely trying to be an isolationist, and I don't think that that's a good idea.
I agree, but he has a large group of people. I would say, especially in the southern states on the East Coast, there are a lot of people who have that mentality that he's feeding into.
Yeah,
and they've never thought beyond the romantic idea of it, because it sounds beautiful.
I agree.
It sounds beautiful. It just don't work in the real world.
No, not anymore. Not anymore. Maybe 300 years ago, but not now.
I was about to say hundreds of years.
Yep.
Wow. I didn't think we were gonna get through all these topics, Mike.
So that's 2 podcasts. 2. So remember, if you're listening to this, there's another podcast out there that came out today as well. So 2 today. You got a bonus for the Labor Day weekend, podcast A and podcast B.
So make sure to let them know, Mike, what the other podcast is about.
The other podcast was a single podcast that was directed at South Park's season number 27, episode 3, talking all about marijuana, Donald Trump, ketamine, and Chat GPT.
So we're going to end with this last story, Mike. This story has exploded across social media. Millionaire American big game hunter Asher Watkins, 52, was gored to death by a 3,000-pound Cape buffalo he was stalking for a $10,000 trophy hunt in South Africa.
I saw that.
The buffalo charged from the bush at 35 miles an hour and killed him instantly. Now the internet is ablaze with debates over ethics, morality, and whether he got what was coming, or if it was just a tragic accident. So, Mike, here's the big question. Is this karma or just the brutal reality of the hunt?
Well, I might surprise you by my answer, but I am, having traveled throughout that, I am pretty anti trophy hunting, to be honest with you. Because what you see is a bunch of wealthy Americans, or wealthy people in general, I guess, going over to a much more impoverished area and taking advantage of their resources and for sport. So, I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest with you. I'm going to go with he got what he was coming to him. But, I mean, let's be honest. You take the risk. I mean, you're talking about a 3,000-pound animal. It's chaotic.
So one of my issues with hunters in general, and I have hunted, and one of my favorite things to do is to go with hunters. I don't actually shoot or kill anything, but I love, I'm a knife dude. I love to field dress animals, use my knives. Mm-hmm. So it's not like I'm against taking the life of an animal or anything like that.
Oh, trust me, I'm a meat eater.
But I have an issue with game hunters where all you're doing this for is to get that head, to put it in your
trophy
case or trophy room or whatever. And there's this trick that they play, especially in these African nations, where they say, well, that $10,000 goes to the care of the other buffalo there. Yeah. And it also employs rangers and blah, 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 blah.
There's a lot of bullshit involved in that statement.
All is said and done, in my opinion, these nature reserves or reservations or whatever you want to call them are one of two things. The one thing, it actually stagnates an economy and doesn't allow it to go any further. It literally keeps it right where it is. It prevents these people from progressing. That's my first thing.
Yep.
The second thing is they've basically figured out a way to basically use large swaths of Africa as rich man hunting grounds,
playgrounds,
and make you feel like it's a socially responsible thing to do.
Yeah, it's a load of shit.
Right. Now, with that said, I ain't got no problem with Joe Blow that goes and gets a moose or a deer. And,
that's totally different circumstance. I mean,
because I love
totally
moose.
different. Yeah, so do I. I mean, that's a whole different scenario. That's just subsistence living off the land, utilizing the animal. But there's a difference between, say, shooting a deer in Montana and trophy hunting for a rhinoceros in Africa. It's not the same thing. One is endangered. I mean, so there's different things about this topic. But yeah, I'm not in principle against hunting at all. Not at all. But that is a game hunting for sport, where basically you're hunting animals in a pen,
right?
With drones and everything else. I mean, there's no challenge involved in this.
And that goes to my last point on this. A majority of hunters like to look at hunting as this macho thing that they're doing, and the way that they phrase things, you would think that they didn't have a gun in their hand, that they had this major advantage. They talk as though they conquered this animal, or whatever. So with that said, with that overwhelming sentiment that hunters seem to have, it should be, okay, this one won, and that's the end of it. He won. So I hope they didn't go kill this Cape buffalo for him. Matter of fact, it should be like, if they get you, they get to be in a whole nother area of the park, and you can't even hunt him no more.
Yeah,
he won.
That sounds. I'm pretty sure they killed I'll look into it. I bet.
So how fair is that?
Right. I think we talked about this one maybe when we had Jason on the podcast or somebody. We were talking about, in America, it's a different scenario where the hunting and the hunting organizations have created policy and laws and have maintained infrastructure like parks and wilderness and stuff. So there's been a lot of good done in America. We've advanced to a point where hunters have actually done, trust me, a lot of good stuff, more so than the overland community in general, to be completely frank. That is not the case in a lot of these places that we're talking about here in Africa. Simply not.
Yeah, you could just simply take something simple as fishing. That's hunting. And we can even take a state like West Virginia, where Jason is from.
Yep.
They have one of the most luxurious hatchery systems in the world. So people are taking fish out of the water like crazy, but they're providing the fish also.
Putting it back in. Yep. Totally different scenario.
Mike, you got anything else you want to say?
Well, no, I don't. Congratulations to Taylor Swift for her engagement this week. Want to leave that at the end here. Hopefully, Jason and her are happy. Sorry, Travis, and I have to tell them I'm confusing the brothers because now I'm listening to their podcast. So, anyways, big shout out to that, and hope you guys tune in next week because we'll have something else to talk about.
And just one last reminder, guys, we put out 2 episodes this week. The other one is dealing with South Park's latest episode 3, season 27, and it's a totally different flavor than the podcast you just listened to. Also, if you're looking for our review of the show to be a very basic chronological analysis of the show, it's not that. We're all over the place. I think you'll enjoy it.
We're always all over the place. I think if you're tuned into this Random Waypoints at this point, we're all over the place. I think.
If they haven't figured out random waypoints.
Yeah.
All right, guys, you know what I'm going to say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully we'll see you here or on the trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.